So, that's you, Bjorn, son of Bjorn, grandson of Bjorn. Yeah, your family wasn't big on creativity, but they were big on tradition. And the tradition is this: you stand at a gate, you wear yellow, you yell halt at people who never halt, and eventually, you die. Probably from a stray arrow. Probably while doing paperwork. That's the Whiterun Guard family business, 5 generations strong. Your great-great-grandfather was eaten by a dragon, back when dragons were still a thing. Your grandfather was eaten by a giant. Your father wasn't eaten by anything, which the family considers an achievement. He died of a bad cough during a snowstorm while standing at his post, because Bjorns don't sit down. It's in the contract somewhere, probably. Nobody's ever actually read the contract. You grow up in the lower district, the part of Whiterun that smells like horse, hay, and the kind of regret that only a blacksmith's apprentice can produce. You learn 3 things before you're 10 years old. 1. Never trust a Khajiit caravan, because everything they sell is either stolen or cursed, and usually both. 2. Never look the Greymane family directly in the eyes, because they remember everything and forgive nothing. And 3. Never, under any circumstances, let Nazim talk to you about the Cloud District. You will not survive that conversation. Nobody has. You're 8 years old, the first time you see a real fight. 2 drunks outside the Drunken Huntsman, swinging at each other with mead bottles. A guard breaks it up, 1 swing of a wooden club, both of them on the ground. You think, that's what I want to be. You don't realize yet that the guard you just watched was your uncle, and that 3 years later he'd get killed by a vampire. Whiterun has a real vampire problem. Nobody talks about it. It's bad for tourism. At 15, you start training. The training yard is behind Dragon's Reach, and the instructor is Captain Kairs, a man who looks like he was carved out of a tree stump by another angry tree stump. He teaches you 3 techniques. The first is standing. You'd think standing isn't a technique, but Kairs will explain at length while making you stand for 6 hours that standing is the foundation of guarding. You stand at gates, you stand at doors, you stand at corners, you stand at things, and then sometimes you stand at other things. If you can stand for 12 hours without complaining, you have completed phase 1. Phase 2 is yelling. Specifically, yelling halt at people who are walking past you. The technique is not in the volume, it's in the tone. You have to yell in a way that says you don't actually expect anyone to halt. Kais makes you practice this for 2 weeks. Phase 3 is the most important technique. It's called not asking questions. This one is harder than it sounds. The Jarl will tell you to do things that make no sense. You will not ask questions. The court wizard will be doing something with a goat and a glowing rock in the basement. You will not ask questions. The moment you ask questions, you stop being a guard and you start being a problem. Bjorns don't become problems. Bjorns get paid 60 septims a week and shut up about it. You graduate, you get your yellow tabard, you get your steel helmet that doesn't quite fit because your head is shaped like a turnip and the city blacksmith only makes 1 size. You get your sword, which is technically called a sword but is actually closer to a sharpened spoon, and you get your first assignment. The main gate, the morning shift. You are 19 years old and you have arrived. Your father would have been proud if he had lived to see it. Your first day on the gate is uneventful for exactly 4 hours. Then a woman approaches. Her name is Carlotta. She runs the produce stand in the marketplace. She's crying. Someone has stolen a chicken. Not just any chicken, a specific chicken named Gertrude. You stare at her. You weren't trained for this. Case didn't cover chicken theft. You try to remember what your father would do, but your father is dead, so he isn't doing anything. You sigh. You take out your little notebook, the one every guard carries for incident reports, and you start an investigation. The investigation takes 4 hours. 4 hours of asking everyone in the marketplace if they have seen a chicken. Of course they've seen a chicken. There are chickens everywhere. There are more chickens in Whiterun than there are guards, and there are a lot of guards. You interview 17 people. You inspect 3 suspicious crates. You corner a small child who you suspected was hiding feathers in her hair, which turned out to be hair. The child cries. Her mother yells at you. You apologize. You move on. At the end of the 4 hours, you find Gertrude. She is in some Red Guard's stomach. He is sitting at the bannered mare, leaning back in the warm light of the fireplace, picking his teeth with a chicken bone, smiling like a man who has never once in his life been told no. A plate of bones sits in front of him on the wooden table. You walk up. You point at him with one shaky stick arm. You demand answers. He doesn't even put the bone down. He just keeps grinning at you, those big white teeth flashing while he chews. You write him a citation for theft of livestock. He laughs. Not a polite laugh. A full, head thrown back, belly-rolling laugh, like you've just told him the funniest joke in Skyrim. He tells you he's friends with the Jarl. You hand him the citation anyway. He takes it. He looks at you. He still hasn't stopped smiling. He ripped it in half. You drag yourself home. After that, you cry into your stew. Your mother asks how the first day went. You say it was fine, but it was not. The second week, you get your first real assignment outside the city. A bandit camp is harassing the trade road south of town. You and 2 other guards are sent to clear it out. The other 2 guards are named Olaf and Olaf. The Whiterun Guard, as I mentioned, is not creative with names. You ride out. You arrive at the camp. It is somehow much bigger than the report said. There are 8 bandits. There are 3 of you, 2 Olafs and 1 Bjorn. The bandits notice you immediately. One of them is an archer. He's perched on a rock. He has a clear shot. You see him aim. And you think, in this moment, with absolute clarity, he's going to shoot me. And he does. The arrow comes whistling through the air. You try to dodge. You don't dodge fast enough. The arrow hits you square in the kneecap. Not the leg, not the thigh, the kneecap. The exact center of your kneecap, with surgical precision. The pain. The pain is something I cannot describe to you without you experiencing it. It's not pain the way you understand pain. It's a new kind of pain. It's a pain so specific, so localized, so sharp, that for a full 3 seconds you forget you have a body. The Olafs handle the bandits while you lie on the ground, screaming words your mother does not know you know. They drag you back to Whiterun on the back of a cart. The cart goes over every single bump in the road. There are many bumps. You feel each one. The priest of Kinnereth at the temple looks at your knee. He hums. He puts his hand on it and prays. The priest smears something on it that smells like mushrooms and old cheese. He charges you 15 septims. The healing magic works, technically. The knee stops bleeding. The bone reconnects. But here's the thing nobody tells you about healing magic. It heals the structure, but not the nerves, not the deep stuff. That knee will whisper to you. It will remind you. It will say, remember that bandit, remember that arrow, remember that day. You spend 3 months in recovery. You sit at home. You eat your mother's stew. You watch the rain hit the window. And you start to think about what you've done with your life. You are 19 years old. You have been a guard for 2 months. And you have already been shot in the knee. The math on this is not good. The math suggests that by 30, you will have been shot many times, in many places, by many bandits. When you come back to duty, something has changed. You are no longer just beyond the new recruit. You are now the one who took the arrow. Every single new guard, every fresh-faced recruit straight out of Caius's training yard, comes up to you and asks you to tell the story. You tell it once. They laugh. They tell their friend. Their friend comes and asks you to tell it. You tell it again. By the end of the first week back, you've told the story 16 times. By the end of the first month, you've stopped counting. Now, here's where things start getting weird. Because while you've been recovering, while you've been limping around the lower district feeling sorry for yourself, something else has been happening in Skyrim. People have started showing up. Strange people. Adventurers. They come into the city in waves. Most of them are normal. But then, one day, you're on gate duty. And you see him. He's barefoot. He has no armor. He's wearing what appears to be a rough-spun tunic that has not been washed since the previous era. He has no weapon. He has, by your count, exactly 1 loaf of bread, which he's carrying in his hands, like it's a baby, and he's bald. His eyes are too far apart. He stops in front of you and stares at you for a full 30 seconds without speaking. Then he asks if anyone needs help with anything. He says it like he's reading it off a sign. He says it like the words don't belong in his mouth. You stare at him. You think, this man is going to die in a ditch before sundown. You wave him through. You forget about him within the hour. He's not your problem. 3 days later, the gate opens. You're on duty again. The bald man walks through. He's no longer barefoot. He's wearing ebony armor. Full ebony. The kind of armor that costs more than your entire family's life savings going back 4 generations. He is dragging behind him a large blood-stained sack. From the bottom of the sack, the horned snout of a severed dragon head pokes out. He's whistling. He stops in front of you. He asks where Skulvar Sablehilt lives. He needs to buy a horse. He needs to buy a horse? And he just came in with a dragon head in a sack? He walks past you. You watch him go. You don't say anything. Chill. You don't ask questions. You remember phase 3. You stand, you stare, you do not ask. A week later, you hear the news at the barracks. The bald man is a Thane of Whiterun. The Jarl gave him a house, the big house. He also got a personal guard called a housecarl. Her name is Lydia. Lydia is now sworn to carry the burdens of a man who owns more enchanted boots than the entire Whiterun Guard owns boots. Period. You see her sometimes in the marketplace, following him 3 steps behind, carrying 12 suits of armor. She doesn't make eye contact with you anymore. You don't blame her. The bald man is rich now. The bald man is famous now. The bald man, you've heard, has killed multiple dragons. People are calling him the Dragonborn. There's a prophecy. There's always a prophecy. Caius told you once that whenever there's a prophecy, it's the god who ends up cleaning up the mess afterwards. He was right. He's always right. Caius drinks now. A lot. He sits in the barracks at night and stares at the wall and mutters about how things used to be simpler. You are still saving up for a room in the guard dormitory. You have, after 3 years of service, accumulated 42 septims. The room costs 50. Inflation has hit Whiterun hard. You blame the Dragonborn. Everybody blames the Dragonborn for the inflation, but nobody says it out loud, because he could shout you into the next province if you upset him. You've seen him do it. You saw him shout a mammoth off a mountain once. The mammoth flew. Mammoths are not supposed to fly. The world doesn't make sense anymore. And then the dragons come back. Like, really come back. Not just the 1 or 2 that the Dragonborn has been hunting. A real one. A full-grown ancient dragon lands on the walls of Whiterun in the middle of the afternoon on a Tuesday. The dragon lands 6 feet away from you. The dragon roars. The roar is so loud that your helmet rings for an hour afterwards. You and 7 other guards scramble to the wall. You have a bow. The bow is, as I mentioned earlier, not very good. The arrows are also not very good. You lose your first arrow. It bounces off the dragon's scales, like a thrown twig. The dragon doesn't even notice. The dragon is busy eating Olaf. Specifically, the Olaf you were on patrol with the day you got shot. You watch your friend disappear into the dragon's mouth. The dragon turns toward you. You see, in this moment, with terrible clarity, that you are going to die. You will die on this wall. Your name will be added to the long list of Bjorns who died doing dumb things in the name of Whiterun. Your mother will get a small pension. Your sword will be given to your cousin, also named Bjorn, who is 14 and stupid. You close your eyes. You wait. And then there is a sound. The sound is a single word, but the word doesn't sound like a word. It sounds like the sky tearing in half. The dragon stops. The dragon turns. And there, walking up the steps to the wall, is the bald man. He's not wearing the ebony armor today. Today, he's wearing what looks like the skin of another dragon. He doesn't run. He walks. He walks the way you walk when you're going to do laundry, casually, bored. The dragon flies at him. He shouts at it. And that's when everything goes wrong for you. Because the shout doesn't just hit the dragon. The shout hits everything. The air bends. The stones rattle. The sky itself seems to flinch. And you, standing on the cracked edge of the wall with 2 bad knees and no grip strength, get hit by the edge of it. Just the edge. Just the leftover wind from a god-killing word. And it's enough. Your boots leave the wall. Your stick arms flail. Your helmet tips backwards. And suddenly, you are not on the wall anymore. You are in the sky. You are above Whiterun, looking down at the cobblestones, watching them get closer, very fast. You think, with complete clarity, oh, so this is how a Bjorn dies. You close your eyes. You wait for the ground. The ground does not come. Instead, what comes is hay. A lot of hay. You land flat on your back in a haystack that someone, somewhere, in a moment of accidental mercy, left right there against the wall. The hay catches you. It cushions you. You lie there, staring up at the sky, blinking, completely confused about the fact that you are still alive. The wall cracks where the dragon dragon crashes into it, far above you. The wall is now your problem to fix, by the way. You'll be filling out the incident report for the next 3 weeks. The Dragonborn walks over to the dragon's corpse. Light starts coming out of it. The light flows into him. He stretches. He cracks his neck. He doesn't even notice you down there. He doesn't notice anyone. He says to nobody in particular, "Good work, citizen." He calls you citizen. You have been a guard for 3 years. You're wearing a guard uniform. He calls you citizen. He walks off. He's already on his next quest. You climb out of the hay. You take out the sweet roll. You eat it. It's a little squished. It tastes okay. You bury your friends that week. You bury Olaf and the other Olaf and Sven. There aren't really bodies to bury. The priest of Arkay says some words. Sven's daughter is there. She's 6. She doesn't cry, she just stares. You give her your sweet roll, the squished one, the one you saved from the day of the dragon. She takes it, she eats it on the spot. She doesn't say thank you. She doesn't have to. You think about leaving the guard after that. You really think about it. You think about going to Riften and becoming a fisherman. You think about going to Solitude and joining the Bard's College. Even though you can't sing and you can't play any instrument and you don't know any poems. But you don't leave. Because Bjorns don't leave. Bjorns stand. So, you stand. And then the war starts. The real war. The civil war. Imperials versus Stormcloaks. Ulfric Stormcloak wants Skyrim to be free. General Tullius wants Skyrim to be part of the Empire. Both of them want Whiterun. Whiterun is in the middle of the map. Whiterun is always in the middle of the map. This is the curse of Whiterun. You will always be in the middle of someone else's war. Jarl Balgruuf is a good man. Jarl Balgruuf is also a deeply indecisive man. In the span of 1 month, he sides with the Empire, then changes his mind and sides with the Stormcloaks, then changes his mind again and sides with the Empire, then declares neutrality, then writes a long letter to both sides, then tears up the letter, then has a stiff drink, then goes back to bed. Meanwhile, you, the guard, you have to wear different patches on your uniform every week, depending on which side he is currently on. You have a drawer at home, full of patches. You have so many patches. Eventually, the Stormcloaks attack. They attack Whiterun, the city you grew up in, the city your father died defending. You're on the wall again, because of course you are. The wall is where Bjorns die. It's tradition. The Stormcloak army comes up the hill. They have catapults. They have, apparently, gotten their hands on catapults somewhere. Why does an army of rebels have catapults? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions. Phase 3. You don't ask. The first volley of catapult fire takes out the front gate. The second volley takes out the watchtower. You are on the watchtower. Of course you are. You fall. You fall a long way. And here's the thing. As you're falling, with the wind in your helmet and the sky spinning above you and the ground rushing up to meet you, you see it. Below you. Right where you're going to land. A cart. A hay cart. Hay again. And for one perfect, ridiculous moment, somewhere in the middle of the fall, you think, and here you go again, flying straight into the hay, but this time, and then you find out what this time means. Because last time, when the Dragonborn shouted and you fell from the wall, the hay was fresh, it was soft, it was a miracle. This time, the hay is old, the cart underneath it is solid wood, and you are going much, much faster. You land, the hay does what hay does, which is move out of the way. The cart does what wood does, which is not move. Your other knee makes a sound that knees are not supposed to make. So now you have 2 knees, both bad. One has an arrow memory, one has a hay cart memory. You will never walk normally again. You crawl out of the hay cart. You see, climbing over the rubble of the gate, your old friend Ralof. Ralof from Riverwood. Ralof who you used to sneak out of training with to drink meat behind the stables. Ralof who taught you how to whistle. Ralof who you haven't seen in 5 years, because he ran off to join the Stormcloaks. Ralof has an axe. Ralof sees you. Ralof recognizes you. Ralof's face does something complicated. He doesn't smile. He doesn't frown. He just looks tired. The same kind of tired you feel. He swings the axe anyway. You raise your shield. You don't think. You just raise it. The axe hits the shield. You stab him. You don't think about that either. You just stab him. He falls. He looks up at you. He says, Bjorn. Just your name. Nothing else. And then he stops looking at anything. You sit down next to him. The battle is still happening around you, but you sit down next to him. You sit there for a long time. Someone yells at you to get up. You don't get up. Someone else yells. You still don't get up. Eventually, a horn blows. The Stormcloaks have won. Whiterun is now a Stormcloak city. You stand up. You go home. You don't eat dinner. You don't sleep. There is a new gate now, built in 3 days somehow. You're wearing a Stormcloak patch on your uniform. Caius hands them out at the barracks. Caius doesn't make eye contact. Nobody does anymore. You stand at the gate. You yell, "Halt!" at a chicken. The chicken doesn't halt. The chicken never halts. You don't really expect it to. Years pass. You are old now. Not very old, but old for a guard. Most guards die before they get old. You are 34, which in guard years is ancient. Both your knees ache constantly. You walk with a limp on both sides, which means you don't really walk. You sort of waddle. The newer guards call you old man. They don't mean it kindly. You don't really care. You've watched 3 of them die already this season. They'll learn. You're at your post one morning. The main gate. The same gate where you started. The same gate where you took the arrow. The same gate where the bald man first walked in, with 1 loaf of bread. The sky is grey. The wind smells like snow. A traveler approaches the gate. She's a Khajiit. She's tall. She's carrying a great sword on her back that's almost bigger than she is. The great sword is glowing. It is, you think, on fire. She has the eyes you've seen before. The bald man had those eyes. The eyes that say, "I'm about to make this city's problems my problems. And then I'm about to become the problem." She stops in front of you. She nods. She says, "Halt, citizen. I am a traveler from afar." You look at her. You feel the arrow in your knee. You feel the hay cart in your other knee. You feel Ralph's face. You feel Olaf, both Olafs, and Sven. You feel the sweet roll you gave to Sven's daughter, who is 12 now and works at the alchemy shop. You feel every single Bjorn who came before you, standing at this exact gate, watching exactly this kind of person walk into exactly this kind of city. And you open your mouth, and you say it. You can't stop yourself. The words just come out. "I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee." The Khajiit blinks. She doesn't laugh. She doesn't react. She just nods. She walks past you, into the city. You watch her go. You know how this ends. In 3 days, she'll come back with a dragon head. In a week, she'll have a house. In a month, the Jarl will give her a title. The cycle continues. You are not in the story. You are the gate. You are the patch on the uniform. You are the man who says the line. And for the first time in a very long time, you don't feel sad about it. The hero needs the gate, and the gate needs Bjorn. Your son starts training next year. He's 8. He wants to be a guard. Of course he does. He's a Bjorn. You'll teach him to stand. You'll teach him to yell. You'll teach him not to ask questions. You'll teach him the line. He'll say it one day to some adventurer walking through the gate. And that adventurer will probably ignore him. And he'll come home and complain about it. And you'll smile. And you won't say anything. Because that's the job. That has always been the job. Standing, yelling, not asking. And occasionally, when the moment is right, saying the line. And then, one cold morning, when the snow is falling and your knees are screaming, you'll stop standing. You'll sit down on the bench by the gate. You'll close your eyes for just a minute. You won't open them again. Your son will find you. He'll bury your helmet next to the others. The priest of Arkay will say the words, and the gate will keep standing. Because the gate doesn't need Bjorn. The gate needs a Bjorn. Any Bjorn. And there will always be another one.